This is my demo for Game Engine 2, mid-Milestone. So the first thing I'm going to show is my FBX importer. And what it does is it takes FBX files, you see like Logic Puzzle, Missile, Space Frigate, and Warbear. Those are the four models I'm using for this demo. It takes them and converts them into just .cdm format, some generic format. And this is the bat file. It just runs and prints out the individual data to each text file. So we're going to run that. You're going to see it run here. Space Frigate and Warbear go pretty quickly. Missile and especially Logic Puzzle take a bit of time to convert. So while these are still going, I can show you one of the other files. As you can see, Space Frigate, even Missile just generated. If you look at the text file, you'll see all that data that it spits out. And this is similar to what we went over in class, where we just had debug data to make sure that I was getting all the right information. And if you scroll down, you get to see the try list with all of the different iterations of the data getting sorted and eventually coming out into the try list and the final sorted list that we want. So it looks like all of these are, Logic Puzzle's still going. So as you can see, it pumps out these .cdm formats, and this is just a simple replication of the graphics header. I don't currently have the data packing into the archiver for SPUs, but I'm going to implement that soon, just because it'll be nice with animation data and such eventually to have that all in one place. So regardless, it pumps in the vertices and the normals and basically the VSN data structure. And then if we go into the engine, what I have here, and this is where the work from first quarter really started to pay off, is I have loading textures, which is just basically the min-mag filter and wrap mode data for each texture loading in. And then here is where I basically create generic mesh data and apply it to generic game objects. So there's no trace of pyramid and stuff at all. It's just basically creating a placeholder section for the mesh data. And I can go to this actually, if it'll load. Yeah, so this is basically, it gets a VAO, and again, it has data about the different counts of the different variables. This create VAO, this was kind of legacy to creating our own shapes. So this is if you want to just type in vertices and normals and all that data from scratch, similar to how we had cubes and such. And this read VAO is this is what reads in the .cdm format, and create VAO actually will create a CDM format file for you as well. So this read VAO is what I'll be using to read in those read in this mesh data. It basically initializes this here. So if we go in here to the importer, so this is again reading in the file, the graphics header, and it basically initializes all the data. And from the returned GL uints, it basically holds reference to the things in the VAO from the created project. And so this was the basis for how I went about creating the FBX importer. This is the data I knew that I needed to find. And so in this project, the import scene, I basically jam in the creation logic of this file into that whole display mesh logic that we all worked out of. So once this project loads up, I'll show where I had that going. And that's basically the final tip of the iceberg for that project, as far as when it runs. So this is almost done loading. In the meantime, so in global state, again, I initialize all the different meshes, read in the data, initialize the mesh, and then the texture loading, again, it just initializes min-mag filtering. And so I just have a texture ID and a mesh, and those are both just GL uints referencing the different data. And this is nice because it allowed me to just pop and swap meshes whenever I want without like it's super simple, and that's the thing I'm most proud of with my engine so far is the simplicity of initializing objects. So in the end, they're all added to this game object manager, and I basically set up the scene to start drawing. But first, I'm going to recap what I was saying with the graphics file header. So at the very end, after I finished sorting the vert data and the tri-list data, I basically, again, initialize structures that replicate the things that we would need in order to properly save the file. So down here, I then basically create a CDM type file. I imported our file system into the FBX importer program, and then wrote out the file header, and then it closes it up, and again, that's the file that ends up coming out in the end. So close this out, and I will run this project. So you've hit enter, it'll go to the next model. And I was having a little trouble with the light positions. Some of them didn't want to, it's like certain positions it'll actually show. So again, I have the warbird didn't come with a texture, but I'm applying a texture to it. And you can see it's drawing properly. There's no crazy weird faces. So that's the bear. This one's the missile, and this one did come with a texture. It was a PNG. I converted it to a TGA and applied it to the object. So we got, this one was the high poly model, the logic puzzle. It was vertex lit, so I don't have vertex lighting in my engine, so I just put a texture on it to see some detail. So this one was massive, and actually at first I thought I had some kind of bug where I was, it was like it couldn't handle all the verts coming in from this, but it turned out I was using, for my mesh data, I was using a local initialize. So this mesh, I was just doing a local version of this and then passing a local reference to that variable, which ended up causing my system to think there were millions of verts and almost crash my computer. So that was something I learned, is to be careful about local pointers. And then the final one, this one had the texture. This was Space Frigate, the required model. And again, I have the camera rotating around the models, and you can see I spaced them out fairly well, but you can see that the models are in like the distance behind, and that the camera's spinning around the models. So yeah, you can see them all lined up back there. And you can actually see the cube go in and out of the far clip plane. So that is my first milestone. Definitely want to get some things ironed out as far as camera movement, figure out some of the lighting issues and why that behavior is happening, and just clean up a little bit of the API. I'm pretty happy with how things are set up coming from last quarter, but definitely want to start getting the archiver and like the FBX importer into the same solution, possibly, if not into kind of like a tools solution where we can build up everything that we have and just get all that in one place, make it feel more unified and more whole. So that is my current milestone. And trying to figure out how to stop this program, which is here.